example number 1. All right, and if you don't have it, you can get it from someone else. Example 1A. Okay, what they're doing here is they're giving us what kind of number. Raise your hand if you know what kind of number they're giving us. And then I'm going to ask what kind of number are we trying to get. And then I'm going to ask somebody, how do you know that? It's like, how did you know that? John, what type of number are they giving us?
A decimal.
They're giving us a decimal. What type of number do they want us to get? Jack? A percent. How do you know that? Like, did you guys read my notes? So I know these two know, but how do you know that they wanted for me to get a percent in this problem? Yeah, Bella? Yeah, guys, it's going to say in the instructions, write this number as this type of number. And if you don't give me that type of number, then it won't be correct. Okay, so A, they give me 0.36. Does anyone know how to read that properly? Because that's actually going to help us out today and in the future. How do I read that? You don't just say 0.36. You can read it as? Yep.
3600.
Good, 36 hundredths. You just read it as its number and then a place value of 6 hundredths. 36 hundredths. Okay, I want to convert this into a percent, and I'm going to do it the way we did it with proportions. And then some of you, I hope, because this is kind of review, will be able to see it as, hey, can't you do this? Okay. Here's my number over 1. So a decimal is a part of 1, right? A part of a whole. And does anyone remember from the percent proportion what goes in the other ratio? What's that other ratio about? Okay, Sophie again.
So is it part over whole?
So this is part over the whole.
And then the other side would be x over 100.
X over 100. So did you guys see already how this lesson relates to yesterday's lesson? Mm-hmm. Okay, you can use a proportion. We're going to do it on this problem just to kind of get that understanding there. So I have 0.36 or 36 hundredths times 100, and that equals, what's 1 times x?
1x.
Yeah, 1x or just x. Okay, so how do you multiply 0.36 times 100? That's a big problem, right? Let me see here. Michael, how would you do this? 2 times, yep. You're multiplying by what we call a power of 10. How many zeros does it have? 2. So you move the decimal twice to the right, and you get 36 equals x, don't you? Yes, I got my answer. Circle it, move on, right?
No.
All right. What's wrong with it? It looks like I did the math right. Or wait, did I not do it right? Callie, what's wrong?
You need a percent sign.
Express each decimal as a percent. Very good. And so my answer is going to be 36%. Again, a review. What does it mean, 36%? What does that percent mean? Like that means that little weird symbol over there? John?
36 out of 100?
Yeah, 36 out of 100. Isn't that what we got here? 36 out of 100. Guys, what I'm trying to help you do, and there are easier ways to do this, and we're going to look at that, but I want you to understand how in the world can I go from this to that using what we've already learned in the past. Bless you. Okay, B, can somebody read me that decimal number? Read it to me properly. Properly. How do you read that decimal number? Mackenzie, you want to try that out? B.
It would be 0.700.
Okay, and you can actually just read it as 7 hundredths. Good, 7 hundredths. And they write it like this, so I'll write it the same way. And I'm going to use the proportion, the percent proportion one more time. So I put it part over the whole, and then we know it's x over 100 on this percent proportion. So what do I do on this problem here? How do I work this proportion out to get what x equals? Yeah, Caroline? Yeah, cross multiply. All right, I get 0.07 times 100. And what does that give me? 7. And then 1 times x? X. Yes. Oh, yes, don't forget. Mr. A's forgotten twice now. I hope you don't forget. Good reminders, guys. 7%. So 7 hundredths equals 7%. Okay, and so I'm tutoring a younger student. He's 4th grade, and they're looking at decimals a lot, and I'm trying to stress out the place value because later on, if you can say it, you can see it in different ways very quickly. Very quickly. 7% on that one. Okay, good. Let me have you guys try out a couple. On page 460, so if you just turn the page once, try out number 6. Go with number 6 there at the kind of at the middle of the page. Express that decimal as a percent. Number 6. I'm already liking some of these proportions I'm seeing. They're very good. That's how you write them. Okay, what I want you to do is look at your neighbor's paper, and I think everyone has a neighbor, and check to see how you did. Yes, sir. Or you just want to see? Okay, yeah, check.
Do you have to put equals X?
You don't have to put equals X. I'm going to have you just have the percent. You should give me a percent here. Good question. Okay, let's see. Someone I haven't called on yet. Yes, I see that hand. Marissa.
47.5%.
47.5%. How many of you got that? 47.5%. Did anyone maybe not get that at first, but then your neighbor kind of helped you out? It's okay if someone helped you out? Okay. Wow, you guys are all pros? Okay, good. Try number 7. Do number 7. Oh, this one's a little tough, guys. It's weird. Okay, good proportions. From what I can see, I see these proportions. What I also want you to do, if you're done, instead of writing the proportion, what else can you do to figure these out? And you give me a good explanation of that. Like, what can you do on all these problems to go from decimal to percent? And I'll ask that as well. So first I'll get the answer, then I'll get the shortcut, which is good. It's nice. Okay, Braden, what'd you get?
I did 103%.
How many of you got 103%? 103%. Good. Somebody help me out with that shortcut. There's got to be a shortcut, right? Please don't say the calculator. Okay. Sydney.
You can move the decimal over to the right twice.
Yep. Move the decimal twice here. 47.5. Put on that percent sign. That's what you get. Does it work here? Yep, it works there too. Why does it work that way? I mean, it does work, and I think it works every single time, but why? Jensen?
Well, that's basically the same thing as multiplying by 100.
That's it. You're basically just multiplying by 100, which means you move it twice, and you get your percent. So you're using the percent proportion, but you don't have to actually show all of that. Did you guys see the tie from yesterday to today? Kind of a little bit? Okay. All right, let's go to percent to decimal. Did we do that one? Percent to decimal? Uh-oh. Let's look at example. I'm going to have to move around a little bit differently here, but example number 4. That one says write each percent as a decimal. And example 4A, what's my percent that they give me here, Sophie?
17%.
17%. Great. If you're thinking about your shortcut, maybe you can figure this one out quickly. Possibly. I don't know. How many of you think immigration want to try it out?
Would you put the decimals in front of the 7?
So like right here?
Yes.
Okay, so
And then move it over twice.
we'll start the decimal point where it's at, and then move it twice to the left.
Yes.
And what do we get? 0.17 or 17 hundredths, right? And you can put your 0 there. That's your number.
Do you have to put the 0?
I see it both ways there. If you don't put it there, you should know that it's there. So either way is good. I'm good with it. Okay, B. What's the percentage that they give me here? Yeah, Braden?
250%.
250? 250%. That's a lot. And so how do I get this answer here? What do I do? And before I get that answer, could you use a percent proportion? Yes. But for our purposes, because you're doing so many of these, I'll let you use the shortcut. Josie?
You put the decimal on the end and move it twice.
1, 2. And then you can drop off that symbol. You get 2.5. How many of you got 2.5? How many of you feel good on this? Like you're like, I'm getting this a little bit. Okay. I want you to try one out on your own. Should I make it tough? Oh, okay. All right. The crowd has spoken. Ooh. Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Page 460. Number 16. That's as hard as I can get. They're not really that tough. But let's see how you do. Some of you look very confident. That's good. I'm kind of like, what is that? What is that? Okay. Max, go ahead.
Is it 0.004?
0.004, like that? Okay. What'd you do, Max?
Move the decimal place over twice.
To the left 1, 2. Fill in that extra spot. How many of you got this right here? 0.004. Can anyone read that number for me properly? Who can read that properly? Michael?
4 1,000. Not 4 thousandths.
Good. 4 thousandths. Very good. Thousandths place 4 thousandths. That's it. Yes?
Do you always have to move the decimal to the left twice when you want to put it into decimal form?
From percent to decimal, yes. Move it twice. And from decimal to percent, twice to the right.
Okay, so it always has to be twice.
Twice. Yeah, that's a good question because if you move it once or more than once, or sorry, I should say once or 3 times or more, that could throw you off. That will be a different number. Okay, so far so good. What haven't we covered so far? So we've done decimal to percent, percent to decimal. Is there anything left? Yeah. Timothy, what's left? What do you think? So what to a fraction? Okay, we haven't done percent to a fraction, have we? Have we done? Is there anything else we haven't done? Jack? Okay, so we haven't dealt with fractions too much, right? Okay, let's go back to the lesson and let's start off with example 2. And now we're going to deal with fractions to a percent. Okay, A, 3/5. 3/5. Now, I've told you already this, and I just want to make sure you guys get it. On a lot of these problems, is there only one way to do that problem? Is there only one way? What do you guys think? There's just one way, that's it, you got to do that. No, there's a variety of ways based on your understanding of fractions, numerators, denominators, the number 1. If you understand the number 1, that helps you out. Prime factorization, we've talked a lot about this. On this one, I'm going to say this. There are many ways to work this problem out, and some are very easy. They're like, oh, wow, that's cool. But I'm going to give you the way that always works, like always works, right? And so you can use that one. Does anyone know which way always works? How do you make this into a percent and it always works? And it's not always easy, but it always works, which is the sad part, right? Okay, Jensen?
You mean the denominator?
Yeah, so you're saying multiply this by something to get a denominator of 100. That will work, but sometimes I don't know that number. It's like, what do you multiply 3 by to get 100? Or 7 by to get 100? Man, that's tough. So if on this one, you could do what you're saying. Yeah, definitely could do it. But what way is always going to work? Always. Yes, Marissa?
Could you divide by the denominator?
Very nicely put. Like that? Okay, guys, don't forget, when you got a fraction here, you got the numerator over the denominator, numerator inside the box, denominator outside. That's how it works. Can we divide this out? I don't know. Okay, 5 goes into 3. Good. 0 times 5 goes into 30. 6. Wait, what's the problem asking me for? Make a fraction into a...
Percent.
That's not a percent. Yes. Max, what are you thinking here?
Would you bring the decimal over to the right twice and it'll be 60?
Oh. So it's kind of like we already did. There you go. That's it. So I did divide and I got my 6/10. You guys agree with that? 6 over 10 or 6/10. But if I move my decimal twice to the right, I could tack on that percent sign, 60%. Yes, ma'am.
Why do you move it to the right instead of the left?
And that's a good question. When I'm taking this decimal, I want to multiply by 100. So multiplying means you move it to the right. Dividing it would be to the left. So we're going to do that a lot with scientific notation. And you got to remember right and left. Like, that's going to help you out. Sorry, this thing's not working. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Will the division problem terminate for all of them?
What a good question. Yeah, and it's funny because
I always say that, and then there's one that continues. So.
Please don't say that in front of Swivl. Anyway, I would say this. I'm not sure as of now. I'll look at the end. At the end of the class, I'll look at it and say they all terminate, or 2 of them keep going rounded. I would say if you always round it to the nearest 100th, you'll be okay. 100th is good. That's just a good place to go. Did I have another question here? Same question, maybe? Okay. All right. Let's do B on example number 2. 7/4. Oh, no. Can I ask somebody a question here? My percent, is it going to be greater than 100 or less than 100? And how do you know that? Like, you should be able to say, it is this because that. Okay, Sydney, what do you think?
It would be greater than 100
What?
because 4 over 4 equals 1, so it's greater than 1.
Good. And do you guys remember that percent proportion, part over the whole? Is the part bigger than that whole number?
Yes.
Yes. So that means it's got to be greater than 100%. Okay. So what do you do on this problem? You divide. So you're going to do 7 divided by 4. All right. And I tack on some decimal, some zeros after the decimal point just to make sure. 4 goes into 7.
1.
Once. 4 goes into 30.
7 times.
7 times, that's 28. 4 goes into 20.
5.
Does it end?
Yes.
Okay, it ends. Yes, 1.75 is my answer.
No.
Okay. Okay, how about this? I see some of you writing it down. That's good. I want everyone on the count of 3 to give me the answer completely. 1, 2, 3. Actually, Brady, you reminded me of my son when we tell him he can run in front of us, like at a shopping center, he wants to run in front of us. So we're like, okay, but when I say stop, you have to stop. So he starts running, and he's looking back thinking, they're going to say stop. So he starts slowing down, and we're like, he's okay. He's like, when are you going to say stop? And then we say, stop, and he's ready. So you were ready for it, which is good. But just a bit early. That's okay. That's fun. Oh, sorry. Swivl.
What's that button that you click to get on?
Actually, it's my fingerprint on it. He remembers. Oh, yes, it's Mr. A. Okay, sorry, Swivl. We're explaining our partnership here. Okay, let's do one more. I'll have you do it on your own. On exam. No, sorry. One more for this part. We're almost done. I know this is a long one. 2 over 500. 2 over 500. I need that as a percent. Error message is coming on. You're going to do it the same way you did the other ones if you did it the way we talked about. Do the same way, exact same way. Don't change it. Do the same thing. You're like, what did we do? Here. What did we do? Does anyone remember? The numerator?
Yeah,
Numerator, huh? What?
divided by the...
Always. The numerator divided by the denominator. You can't do that. Not yet until you do this. Now you can do it. Does 500 go into 2? No. Does 500 go into 20? No. Does 500 go into 200? Still no. Man, I'm tired of saying no.
4 times.
4 times. That's okay. Good. Oh. So what's my answer? I want an answer. Emma Grace, can you give me a percent? 0.4%. So you move it 2 times, you get the 0.4%. That's it. That's less than 1%. Would you agree with this? 0.4 is less than 1%. Isn't 2 less than 1% of 500? Yeah. What? But does anyone know what? Sorry. Does anyone know what 1% of 500 would be? Jack? It'd be 5, and 2 is less than 5. Okay. You guys are doing really well. I appreciate that. Okay, we're to the last part, and it's the hardest part. Why do I save the best for last? I don't know. Okay.
You saved the worst one.
Is that how you think of it?
Well, it's the hardest one.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll think of that next time.
Worst for third period.
Oh. Let's go with percent to fraction. It's actually not too bad. Yes, ma'am.
So I just wanted to clarification.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
do you tell the difference between moving to the left and moving to the right
Okay.
with the decimal?
If you start with a decimal and they want you to write it to a percent, move it twice to the right.
Okay.
If you start with a percent and want to go to a decimal, move it twice to the left,
Which is divided.
which is dividing. Yes, exactly. And
In my opinion, this is easier.
Yeah, this is the easy.
sorry, yes, that first problem will be nice. I want to write this as a fraction. 15% can be written as a fraction automatically. What over what?
I got you.
Braden?
15 over 1.
15 over 100. Would you agree with that? 15% equals 15 over 100? Okay. You need to agree with that because on the next problem, it's not super easy to see, but it's still there. So 15 over 100. But can that be simplified? Can you make it simpler? Yeah, what number goes into both? 5 goes into 5.
3 times.
5 goes into 100. And that is as far as it goes. 3/20.
If we get if it's 1.2, okay, if it's 120%, this would be 1.2 as a decimal. If we do hundreds.
And 1 and 2 tenths.
So now if you want us to, so it would be 1 and 1/5, which would you want us to keep as a mixed number? Or?
Keep it as a mixed number. Yeah. And mixed numbers are good. Yeah, just so we can understand. Okay. B, though. B is the problem. Listen to me, guys. If you understand this process, you can get to the next step here. 87.5%. 87.5%. Okay, and you're thinking, oh man, that half just threw me off. Let's just start with what we know. Can you guys do this? Can you guys understand that 87.5% means 87.5 over 100? Can you guys agree with me there? 87.5 over 100. And that looks weird, but I think you guys can write that. So far, so good? Okay. Man, and this is where we're working on making this better for you when you come to 7th grade, but here's what I mean. This is, better for you in 7th grade for the school, I guess I should say. Okay. This is a certain type of problem. It is either, I'll give you options, addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Which one is it?
What?
Sorry, I'll give you again.
I choose subtraction.
Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. It is one of them. Division. It is, and look at this, guys. It is 87.5 divided by 100. Do you agree with that? If it is 87.5 divided by 100, is this possible to work out? It's a 3-step process. You go from here. Blah, blah, blah. Let me give you the first one. I hope you guys get it.
Would you do 87.5%
Yeah.
first, and then move the
That's what
decimal
I'm doing.
to the left?
Okay, if you did that, you would give me a decimal, 0.875. But what do I want?
A fraction.
So you'd got to give me 875 over 1,000 and then simplify it. But I don't want to do that. So let's do this. Can we do this? Stay with me. It's funny because I knew this part would be a little bit tougher. Some of you are handling it well, and some of you just be careful that you don't get too don't get mad at the problem, because then the problem isn't very easy to understand. It doesn't hate you back.
It hates me back.
Okay, 87. You're not going to get many of these, so don't feel too bad. We have this, we said. This is my problem. If you don't get this, it's hard to understand it when you have to do it in your homework. I'm going to do stay, change, flip. Am I allowed to do that?
Yes.
No, I forbid you not.
Okay, can anyone turn that into an improper fraction? That's probably the hardest part about this math. Improper fraction. What's 87 times 2?
175.
144. It's 144.
174.
175.
Oh, 174, not 44.
That's okay. 174 plus 1?
175.
So it's 175 over 2. You guys agree with that? Still divided by 100. Still divided by 100. All I did is change it improper. Can I do stay, change, flip? I certainly can. Stay, change. What's the flip of 100? 1 over 100. You're like, no, this is just, you made this too hard. Can you cancel? Can you cancel anything? What goes into both of these? 25 goes in that? 25 goes into that? Thankfully, you only have, I think you have 2 of them. Maybe 2.
See, but that
3?
but that's the exact same work, because then you get 875 over 1,000 divided by, and I did 5 over 5, which got me 175 over 200. Then I would have to simplify that, so it's the exact same.
Wait, there's more than one way to do a problem?
Well, yeah, but how is this easier than the other one?
Because I would say I'm thankful that 25 goes into, or 5 goes into both of them, but it doesn't always go into both. It might be 11 goes into both of them, but I can't see that very clear. Yeah, don't worry, you won't get too many of these. And let me look at it right now. You have 2. Who said 3? 2 of them. 2.
Probably the last 2 problems.
Mr.
Oh my God.
There
No.
is
You don't do all the problems, do you?
37, but it's 34.5, which is pretty much
All right, let me give you your homework, and I'll help you out on that one. Your homework tonight is 19 to 49. Odd.
Newish. Dad on all my haters.
Why do we have so many now?
You want more?
On average.
Good. Yeah, some of them you should be able to look at them and say, got it. And some of them, like the one we just did, it takes you a little bit of time. That happens. Sorry.